1 second, almost there. You guys are live.
Good evening. The League of Women Voters of the Hampton, Shelter Island, and the North Fork is pleased to be sponsoring this evening's debate for the candidates in the special election for Southampton Town Council. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Where's the flag? I don't know where the flag, there, it's coming. There's the flag. Okay, I pledge allegiance
Pledge
to the flag
allegiance to the flag
of
of
I
the
pledge
United
allegiance
States
to the flag of the United States of
of
America
America.
and to the nation for which it stands, one nation,
Nation.
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The debate this evening will be between John Leonard and Rick Martell, who are the candidates running for Southampton Town Council. I'm Estelle Gelman from the League of Women Voters of the Hampton, Shelter Island, and the North Fork, and I will be moderating this debate. The other member of the League, whom you will see on screen, is Eileen Mercer, who will be our timer. Others in the League who have been involved with bringing you this debate are Arlene Hinkemeyer, who is our publicity chairperson and serves as liaison with CTV, Neil Cohn, who is chair of our Voter Services Committee, and Julia Mead, who is the shadow and backup for this debate. Our thanks go to all those who contributed questions for the debate, and a very special thanks to the staff at CTV, whose technical support has made it possible to view this debate on YouTube. We also thank the candidates, and we thank you for watching. Just a quick word about who we are. The League of Women Voters is a political but nonpartisan national organization. While we never endorse parties or candidates, we do take positions on issues affecting our community. Foremost among our goals is to educate voters, stimulate voter interest, and encourage voter participation. We are respected for sponsoring fair and impartial candidate debates, such as this one, and for the educational materials we distribute on voting issues. Now, to move on to the ground rules for the debate. Since we don't have a live audience before us, the questions are all submitted in advance by the community and League members and have been vetted to ensure that they are appropriate for this debate. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement, up to 2 minutes to respond to each question, and 1 minute for a closing statement. In addition, each candidate will have the opportunity for a one-minute rebuttal to each of his opponent's responses. The candidates will speak in alphabetical order, and John Leonard will give his opening statement first. He will also answer the first question first, after which the response to each question, the first response to each question will be rotated between the candidates. Regardless of where we are in the rotation, Rick Martell will give his closing statement first. The candidates will now give their opening statements. John?
Thank you. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event. It's an important event for this special election. I want to thank everybody who's come out to watch this tonight. I really love the civic engagement that we've had in this election, and I love to see people doing their civic duty. A little bit about me. My name is John Leonard. I live in Hampton Bays with my husband, Jean Valle, and our little 2-year-old Chihuahua named Timmy. I am a civil litigator by profession. I have a law office called the Law Office of John J. Leonard here in Hampton Bays at the Hampton Atrium. I do a wide variety of, I provide a wide variety of legal services in matrimonial and family law, basic civil litigation, estate planning, and real estate. I've been very involved in our community. I do a lot of community service, starting with work with the Sag Harbor Chamber of Commerce for a number of years as a member, an officer, and a member of the board of directors. Pro bono work through such wonderful local not-for-profits like the Retreat and Nassau Suffolk Law Services. I've served for the last 8 years on the East End Regional Intervention Court, which is our local drug court, which provides substance use treatment to criminal defendants to help them to obtain long-lasting sobriety. I've been a member of the Architectural Review Board of the town of Southampton. I'm currently a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals. And most recently, I started a not-for-profit organization called the Hampton Bays Alliance, which provides educational programming to the public about issues that are important to the hamlet of Hampton Bays and the town of Southampton. And so I thank you very much, and I look forward to this conversation.
Thank you. Rick?
So I want to thank the League of Women Voters. This is my third time in front of the league, and I appreciate everything you do in the community and the opinions that you voice. It's really important to have you, in our community doing the right thing for us. My name is Rick Martell. I'll be on the ballot as Richard Martell. I'm a 50-year resident of Hampton Bays. I've been married for over 40 years to my wife, Debbie. I have 2 grown boys. One lives out of state, one lives here, and is, of course, struggling and looking for housing here in the Hamptons. I've been a volunteer my whole life. I started in 1980 with the Southampton Kiwanis Club. One of my big initiatives was food insecurity, where I did food baskets at the holidays for different not-for-profits, for churches, and for from some schools. I've been a coach. I've run Little League, the Hampton Bays Youth Baseball, Basketball Leagues. I've been on the Chamber of Commerce board. I've done quite a few things. We've done our local Booster Club, our Performing Arts Parents Association, and most recently, the last 10 years, been working on the board of the San Gennaro Feast of the Hamptons, where when we're all said and done at the end, the monies go to our local homeless shelter, Maureen's Haven, our food pantry at St. Rosalie's, and the Southampton Coalition for Women's Cancers. So over the years, all my volunteer work has parlayed that into wanting to be on the town board. And I was lucky enough to serve my community on the town board from 20 to the end of 23. So I'd like to get back to that and continue some of the things I've done before. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we will begin the questions. And John, you will answer the first question first.
Okay.
What role do you believe the town should play vis-a-vis our immigrant population? What impact, if any, do you see mass deportations having on the workforce of our local community?
A very good question. I think that we need to throw ourselves behind our undocumented and documented immigrant populations. I think they really are part of the backbone of our town. I think without them, our businesses would be devastated. And I think that we should issue a formal declaration stating that the town will only honor judicially issued warrants. And that would be the only way in which we would participate in any federal activity within our borders. I think that we have to, at this time, given what's going on in the nation, we need to protect our marginalized communities. They're a very important part of our community, and we have to respect the great contributions that they make to us. And so if I were on the town council, I would look to do everything in my power to work with immigrant groups. I would work with Latino and Latina groups in order to find ways that we can help people through this very trying time, because we have to all come together in the face of the onslaught that we're seeing at the national level.
Thank you. Rick?
So I am truly saddened by, some of the immigrant population that's afraid to send their kids to school, to go to their jobs right now. It's a sad state of affairs. I agree that if there's a warrant for somebody, if they have a criminal record, felony convictions, it's easy for me to say, let's send them out of the country. The ones that are here legally or illegally have taken a tough path to get here. And I truly think that if they're working, if they're involved in their community, if their kids are in school, that at this point they've become part of our community. And it makes sense to me. And I know it's not a terrific Republican thing to say, but I truly believe that they've become part of our community. We could not do without them. We should accept them. And I've had no problem, with my business in Hampton Bays. So it's, they should find a way to stay.
Thank you. And Rick, you will be the first to answer the next question. There have been a number of issues between the town and the Shinnecock Nation, including a lawsuit to stop the Shinnecock's plans for a gas station travel plaza on tribal land in Hampton Bays. What is your view on the lawsuit, and how do you believe the town can best resolve the issues between the town and the Shinnecock Nation?
Okay, I've said this before that I had a tent business, a party rental business for 27 years. One of my accounts was the Shinnecock Nation. I did their powwow every year. So I have walked, the reservation properties with Lance. We've had conversations on how difficult it is to get loans for elder care, the community center, childcare, infrastructure. So I absolutely feel they have every right to find a way to, produce income for the nation. And the cannabis was one way. The gas station is another way. The issue I have, and if I was the Shinnecocks, I would be suing the town right now, because honestly, this whole, I think it's a full, the deed has been passed. I think I can do what I want. I think honestly, we have to figure that out. So I have said before, I'm in favor of keeping the lawsuit in place so that we can get a final answer, and we can then figure out a path to work together on Westwoods. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Yes, I have made very clear that I am an ally of the Shinnecock Nation. I did not agree with the filing of the lawsuit, but as a civil litigator, I know that, the lawsuit's been filed, the horse has left the barn. I don't believe that getting onto the board is going to change the trajectory of the litigation. The town is certainly not going to withdraw it. I was upset to hear that the town filed or attempted to file a motion for a preliminary injunction to stop the work at Westwoods. I don't believe that that was the correct way to move forward, because all it did was add fuel to the fire. I think there's a massive distrust between the nation and the town for good reason. And I think that we need to address that, and we need to address that globally. So the issue, as I see it, is that we need to work as hard as we can with the Shinnecock Nation to find a way forward. A huge part of my practice is compromise and negotiation in order to reach a settlement that benefits all parties. And I think that the town needs to sit down with the Shinnecock Nation and work this out. And there are definitely ways to move forward. One suggestion would be to assist them with obtaining the curb cut through the DOT so that the Westwoods property can be developed as a gas plaza. I would be very much interested in working on that solution. And then any discussion about what would happen with the remaining parts of the Westwood property could be also discussed in those mediation sessions. But, the Shinnecock Nation is an integral part of our community. They have such a special position. They are not only a sovereign nation and our neighbor, but they're also part of our community, and we need to respect that. We need to have empathy for them.
Okay, thank you. And John, you will also be first on the next question. In
Yes.
view of the controversy raised by the Southampton History Museum over the oyster hatchery at Conscience Point, do you think that the town should assert ownership if the documents prove that the hatchery sits on town land? And what do you think should be the town's role vis-a-vis the hatchery?
Well, yes, if it turns out that the hatchery is on town land, then the town should absolutely assert control over it. And what the town should do is act as a steward in order to assist the hatchery in growing and prospering. And so, what I would suggest is also to work with the trustees in order to determine a way forward with the hatchery. But certainly, if it is on town land and the town has jurisdiction over it, I would expect the town to assert jurisdiction in order to calm the situation and find a way forward so that the hatchery can survive, grow, and prosper.
Thank you. Rick?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the town at this point should take ownership. I think it's pretty clear that they own the property. So the trustees own the Bay Bottoms. So I think at this point it makes sense to get the trustees, the town, and the hatchery all in one place and figure out what to move forward with. I think it can work. It can work for everybody, and it should be something we can solve pretty rapidly.
Thank you. And Rick, you'll be first on the next question. The town has allocated money from the Community Preservation Fund for an affordable housing development in Quogue. What specific additional steps do you feel the town should take to address the need for affordable housing?
So we have a few things going on the west side of the canal as far as affordable housing go. We have Quogue, we have the Farrell property, we had Spion Commons, we have hospital property that's thinking about putting in some affordable housing or workforce housing. So I think we have to concentrate on the east side of the canal. A lot of our workers aren't just coming, a lot of the traffic we have isn't just coming to Southampton. It may be going to the eastern part of Southampton. So I truly believe we have to be creative in what we do. We have talked about repurposing. If we find there are a lot of cases where community housing funds are buying properties with homes on it, wrecking the property. So really what should happen is the community housing fund should be buying those pieces of property, rebuilding the homes, maybe make them a two-family home so that we have a little bit of units here and there, add to the town, any place where the town has property or the town's doing building, we should do additional units there. If we're lucky enough to find a large tract of land, then we have to vet it with the community, make sure that, it will fit in the community. And, it seems like the threshold is 80 units in Quogue seem to be the high end of the threshold, but maybe we do several 40 units, but certainly we need it badly, and we need it on the east side of the canal right now. Thank you.
Thank you. John?
Well, there's a lot that we need to do. I constantly refer to the statistic that we have about 2,000 people on the Housing Authority waiting list, and we have only built about 89 units, renter or owner occupied, in the last 10 years. We need to make affordable housing a significant part of the comprehensive plan update that's the town is about to embark on, and I look forward to being able to participate in that. So that we can determine what we're going to do with affordable housing for the next 20 to 50 years. We need to throw ourselves into assisting small businesses to create workforce housing. We need to change zoning laws to make it easier for businesses to house their own workforce. We need to participate very well in the pro-housing community program, where there's a lot of money that's going to be available in future years for us to build affordable housing. We need to support accessory dwelling unit programs, not only to create affordable housing, but also to make it easier for seniors to be able to age in place. And we need to repurpose existing structures, be they commercial or residential, in order to address the needs that we have. And we also need to work with county and state officials to improve public transportation and also find ways to site development in places closer to transportation hubs. We've been using a model that doesn't work. We wait for developers to come in and find sites that largely are objectionable. We need to start being the ones, we need to take the reins, and we need to start being the ones to work on this, taking a multi-pronged approach, using all the tools in the toolbox, because time is wasting. We don't have another 4 years to diddle around on the issues. We need to make progress right now.
Okay, thank you. And John, you will be first on the next question also. Concerns have been raised that overdevelopment and variances being granted to increasingly large homes are changing the nature of our community. How do you think that the town should address these concerns? And would you be in favor of a building moratorium?
Okay. That strikes right to the heart of me because I am right now on the Town of Southampton Zoning Board of Appeals. So I sit with my colleagues in judgment of applications for variances all the time. And I can say that the board, as it is composed right now, has really been holding the line on excessive variance requests. We've been holding the line on pyramid relief. We've been holding the line on height variance requests. We've been holding the line on setbacks, because in order to maintain the character of the community. So we sit and balance homeowners' interests in their free use of their property with community members' interests in maintaining the character of their communities. And I think we've been doing a really wonderful job in that. I don't believe that a building moratorium makes sense at this point. That just encourages stagnation. And I think that would be devastating to our economy. And I don't think it would help us in the long run. A building moratorium would mean that we wouldn't be able to build any affordable housing. I don't believe that you could narrowly tailor it and not violate people's rights. People do have a right to use the land in a way that they would like to, certainly within the confines of the zoning code and building code and what's permitted through the planning department and the planning board. But I think that we've been, in the last 3 years that I've been on the board, we've been doing a very nice job of realigning our community interests with homeowners' interests. And we have routinely had requests for 7,000, 8,000 cubic feet of pyramid relief, which if anyone knows what that means, it means you're putting an enormous house on a very small plot of land. And we've been holding the line on that. So I think we should continue in that vein.
Okay, thank you. Rick?
Okay, so as far as the building moratorium goes, absolutely not. The building industry, whether it be renovations or new buildings, what keeps the economy here going. And it's something that, people come out here, they want to have the homes. We want to continue to improve our neighborhoods. So I would absolutely be against that. As far as the large homes that are popping up, I'm glad to hear that the ZBA is actually taking care of the pyramid laws and the encroachment on the sidelines, because that wasn't the case for years. They were 90% probably of the zoning changes were made and people were allowed to build. I'm glad they've clamped down on that. It's something that we have to continue to allow people to, live the life they want to live here, but at the same token, keep the parameters into the neighborhoods and just keep it the way we've had it.
Okay, thank you. And Rick, you will be first on the next question. Stony Brook Southampton campus could be a potential asset for the East End. What would you like to see done with the campus, and what steps would you take to get Stony Brook to do that?
So every time I drive by it, there's a new vision for it, to be honest with you. I thought it would have made a great place for a new town hall. We could have all the facilities with access roads on both sides. I've looked at it as possibly for affordable housing. It's a tremendous piece of property. Maybe we can do a little of both. The college itself, the college was a great driver of local economy back when they had a full college. I don't think we're ever going to get back to that again. I miss the old basketball games in the gym for the Colonials, but so I think its best use right now would most likely be affordable housing because of the access to the highways. It's over the canal, and the town hall idea has kind of left me. I know what it costs to build a new town hall, so the affordable housing would probably be my best bet. Thank you.
Thank you. John?
Well, I think, we need to sit down with the owners of the property and find out exactly where they are in the process. I know as of last summer, there was still discussions about moving Southampton Hospital to that location and building a new hospital there. That would be fantastic if that actually occurred. And then the question becomes, what would happen to the actual hospital building in Southampton Village? If the hospital decided not to move there, I think affordable housing would be a very good way to develop that property that would benefit the town. It would allow us to build much more housing than we have in the past, which is absolutely what we need. I speak to Curtis Highsmith with the Housing Authority on a regular basis, and the Housing Authority is doing wonderful work. But they're building 8 units here, 2 units there, 4 units there. It's never going to get us to where we need to be. We have to really lean into it as a community. We have to bite the bullet and do what we need to do. And I think that would be a place where we could really build quite a few units and take a large bite out of the problem that we have. In the event that Southampton Hospital actually wanted to move there, I would like to look at the old Southampton Hospital space for potential other development of affordable housing, or possibly mixed use. Either of those lots could be mixed use, and we have potential mixed use zoning coming down the pipeline, and that would allow retail, commercial, residential, all in the same in the same zoning. So I think those would be things that we should really investigate and look into.
Thank you. And John, you will be first on the next question.
Okay.
What do you think should be the priorities of the Community Preservation Fund, and how would you facilitate the implementation of those priorities?
The Community Preservation Fund, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So, the Community Preservation Fund is a really amazing bit of legislation, and it has worked wonderfully for the town of Southampton. Fred Thiel really was the driver of the Community Preservation Fund legislation. He did just a wonderful thing for our community. We have protected hundreds, if not thousands, of acres of property in the town of Southampton, ensuring open space for us and for future generations. I think that we need to, with the Community Preservation Fund, continue to do what we're doing. I would love to see I don't know if you would call it revisions, but I would love to look at it again. Right now, some of the CPF properties that we purchase, the town has to maintain them. And so it becomes sometimes too onerous financially. Like right now, I know in Hampton Bays, we have the Boy Scout the old Boy Scout camp with dilapidated buildings that the town is not taking down simply because it's too costly to do it. So they're boarded up, and then you wind up having, unfortunately, homeless people living in there from time to time that the police have to remove. And you also have drug use. So I would like to see changes to that. I would also like to look at, as we move forward, we do have, it's an enormous fund, $2 billion. And I would like to really concentrate on preserving property that has environmental sensitivities, given the fact that we do live on our aquifer, and, our environment is the economy and the economy is the environment. We are a largely vacation resort area, and our environment is incredibly important to us, not just for our livelihood, but also for our health. So I would just continue doing what we've been doing with it.
Right, thank you. Rick?
So the Community Preservation Fund has far outseeded any expectations as far as financially and the amount of acreage that we've actually preserved. I think it's done a fantastic job, but I think it is at a crossroads. I mean, we need other things besides just actual preservation of property. A certain percentage of it goes to water quality issues. I think we need to almost double the amount of money that we can get out of the preservation fund for water quality, to take care of the PFAS, any of the emerging contaminants we might have in our sub-watersheds. We have to take care of our water here. It's a limited supply, and we're going to have issues down the road. That money could be used for IA systems, it could be used for sewage treatment. And the one thing that's not being done right now is that the money is not allowed to build parks. So we can buy a piece of property, we can set up a passive park, but the park has to be paid by the regular budget and then maintained by Parks and Recreation. So I'd like to see a little sliver of that money, set aside so that we could, start new parks around Southampton town.
Thank you. And Rick, you'll be first on the next question. Southampton has opted in to allowing marijuana dispensaries to operate in the town. Are you happy with the way things have progressed? And is there anything that you would like to see changed?
So we opted in by not opting out. And when I was on the board, I fought because I did not want to have cannabis sales in the town of Southampton. I thought it would lead to other issues, and there was always this discussion of tax money and revenues that might come from it. And honestly, I figured the Shinnecock Nation could benefit from them being the sole supplier in Southampton town. So I never put a resolution forward. I had no support on the board for that, unfortunately. So we did opt in. The zoning on it also upset me, and I voted against this. One of the things they put in was highway business. I'm going to give you Hampton Bays, for example. In Hampton Bays, highway business is less than a quarter mile from the center of town. Pretty much where our church in Carvel end is where a cannabis dispensary could be located. And I know there's at least 4 buyers who are trying to buy the building for that. And it upsets me that it would be not an LI 40 or a highway business like a 39, but right down the road from my Starbucks and my Carvel. So it's rather upsetting for me.
Thank you. John?
Well, I find it very interesting that there's a concern as to the placement of a dispensary next to the Carvel when there's a liquor store right next to the Starbucks. And I really don't see the two of them as being that different. I think that the rollout of the cannabis program in New York State was kind of a debacle. Dispensary owners and producers have consistently said that it was a clunky rollout. It was very difficult to do. There were many hurdles that made it very difficult. and it could have been done better. The state legislature is, my understanding, working on trying to resolve some of the issues that have come up from it. But we have to remember that marijuana is in our community, and it's not going anywhere. And so allowing cannabis dispensaries is a boost for business. And it allows us to bring in tax revenues. And I think it's important for us to be able to maintain a pure a pure line from producer to consumer. I work on the drug court, and I see what happens every day to people who are taking drugs that are laced with fentanyl. Most recently we had people buying cocaine in on the North Fork, and they died of fentanyl overdose because their drugs were laced. And I would rather see on the drug court, people relapse all the time, and it's expected in recovery. And I would rather see them relapse using using marijuana from a dispensary where we know that what they're getting is pure and they're not going to die, than going out into the street and buying something. So I think the idea of saying it's that we shouldn't have cannabis dispensaries, I think it's a myopic view. I think it's not paying attention to the modern world in which we live, and I think it puts people in danger.
Okay, thank you. And John, you're going to be first on the next question also. How would you address the problem of increased traffic density as well as traffic safety in the town?
Well, we have the Traffic Mitigation and Safety Task Force that is about to release its report. Michael Iacilli was on that task force. A member of our planning board, Tom Neely, was on that task force. They actually came to one of our Hampton Bays Alliance meetings and discussed some of the initiatives that are being rolled out in the town of Southampton to slow people down and to get some control over speed in the town. And I think that we need to see what the task force report unveils and follow its directives. With regard to traffic mitigation, I think traffic mitigation is totally linked to affordable housing. And I've heard people say we can't build any more housing until we've solved the traffic problem. And I think that makes no sense. We need to shift drive times and drive patterns, and we can do that most successfully, I believe, by building additional development or repurposing other structures. And east of the canal, I don't think we should continue to focus our efforts west of the canal, because what we call the trade parade is because of people coming in to work in the town of Southampton, mostly east of the canal, because they cannot afford to live within our town, and they have to drive an hour, hour and a half to work each day, each way. So I believe that we have to have a multi-pronged approach to traffic mitigation. I think building additional affordable housing as well as repurposing other housing east of the canal is one of the tools in the toolbox to move us forward on that, so that we can shift drive times, shift drive patterns, and the more cars that we take off the road, the better.
Okay, thank you. And Rick?
Yeah, so there's no question that the trade parade is the big aspect here. I mean, people complain about the traffic in Hampton Bays, but it's not the people in Hampton Bays going from point A to point B. It's everybody who gets off the highway, that uses their Waze app, that cuts down the side roads and cuts through our neighborhoods and school zones to get into Southampton. I think the real controlling aspect here is County Road 39. I think the county itself has to get more involved in helping us flush traffic through the corridor, get it to Watermill and beyond. There had been studies about no left-hand turns in the morning. There had been some cone programs run by Highway Superintendent McCardle to keep traffic moving instead of, traffic light after traffic light after traffic light, slowing and backing up traffic. So I'm hoping the traffic mitigation task force does come up with some solutions, but it's going to be tough. It's sheer volume out here in our case, and I think we're going to have to get creative on County Road 39 to solve it.
Okay, thank you. And Rick, you'll be first on the next question. What skills and experience do you possess that qualify you to serve as a council member? And what strengths and experience can you bring to council as a bridge builder and consensus maker?
Thank you. So, I have served on the board before, and one of my specialties, honestly, was getting to talk to people and getting to know the people in the communities, and things that had been ignored for years, whether it be drainage issues or speeding on side roads where they needed stop signs, or a lower speed limit that they were ignored for years and years. And I was able to solve a lot of those issues in the areas where I was liaison to, and plus knowing my community so well, and being here for 50 years, and understanding the youth environment here, and having seen generations live here only to move out. I have a deep compassion and deep understanding of our community. And that's what I bring to the town board. And I've done it before. I hope to do it again.
Thank you. John?
I think that we need someone in the town council position who is serious, knowledgeable, hardworking, and has the right skill set for the job. My community service has been that of an advocate for people, an educator. And I think that those are the skills that I bring to the table. I have done an immense amount of pro bono work for victims and survivors of domestic violence, indigent people going through civil actions. The one case that I absolutely it fed my soul was working for a woman who was raped as a child from the ages of 5 to 13, and we sued her uncle under the Child Victims Act and obtained a $20 million judgment in that case. And that's the kind of work that I've done in the community. I've also worked on the ZBA, balancing different interests and coming to a reasonable solution. I've worked with the East End Regional Intervention Court, helping people, shepherd them through substance abuse treatment, reunification with their families. And also, most recently, I formed the Hampton Bays Alliance and provided educational programming to the public about revitalization and redevelopment in Hampton Bays, affordable housing, traffic mitigation. And in that job, I acted as an educator, helping people to understand the very issues we're talking about here that are sometimes complex and hard to understand for myself as well. And I've learned along with the people who've come to our meetings. So I think also my work as a civil litigator, engaging in compromise and negotiation in very complex matters will be an absolute asset to the board as it stands right now.
Okay, thank you. And you will be first on the next question. The Citizens Advisory Committees of the town of Southampton were established to provide input from communities, a critical component of ensuring local government works efficiently. How would you improve the functioning of these groups?
Well, what I would like to see is, I've had some interactions with the CACs. Some of them are not really acting anymore. They haven't held meetings in over a year. I think that there's not a good line of communication between the public and the CACs. There's disparate information on the internet. I think the most important, and And also, some of them, they're not terribly well attended. I know that I've gone to some and there's like, 6 people in the room, 8 people in the room. I'd like to see more engagement. I would like to see more people coming out and voicing their opinions and bringing problems to the table that we can all chew on and resolve. I would like to see the CACs having more educational programming, bringing people in who can talk to the people in attendance about the issues and teach them the basic facts from which we can all form opinions. I would like to, if I were on the town council, I would be very much involved in the various CACs, not only the ones which I would be a liaison to that hamlet or that region, but all of the other ones, because we're a community and we're not islands unto ourselves. What happens in Bridgehampton affects people in Southampton, affects people in Hampton Bays and Quogue and Spionk, and I think we have to be really cognizant of that. And so, what I would like to do is I would like to see more engagement, more education, more conversation, so that we could tackle all of the problems together as a community.
Thank you. Rick?
So when I was on the board, 3 of my liaison duty areas was the Flanders, Riverside, Northampton area, the Hampton Bays area, and the Watermill area. They all had pretty active CACs. I agree that the membership was low. When certain issues came up, more people would come out. I think it's important that we keep those. There was talk of doing away with them. But I actually appreciate the feedback that I get. I don't mind getting yelled at when I show up, and I don't mind, hearing that the town didn't do this or that. And we try to remedy that. If it's a code enforcement issue, we bring Ryan Murphy down to talk to the group. If it's a tax assessment issue, we bring somebody down for that. It's nice that we have them. We can bring the necessary people to speak on behalf of the town. And it's really encouraging to me that I've seen Flanders grow. I've seen Watermill grow. I've seen Hampton Bays take a step back on the CAC, and I know they're working very hard on that. But it's important that we keep those intact. I think we should there is such a thing as a roundtable for them to come to town hall. And in my time in town hall, we had never done that. So it might take a little more engagement, actually bring them a little closer to the town board than what they normally are.
Okay, thank you. And Rick, you will go again on be the first to respond to the next question. Recent storms have increased in frequency and severity, resulting in lengthy power outages, flooding, and road damage. What new solutions would you propose to mitigate the damaging effects of these storms?
So we definitely, as far as the power outages, we definitely need to work with LIPA to make sure that the power grid is intact. We have an aging infrastructure on Eastern Long Island for a power grid. We really need to get involved with them to make sure that it can move with the times. The more electric vehicles, the more homes that do not use fossil fuels, the infrastructure is not going to be able to keep up. And we're going to need to make sure that, we can guarantee our community that we can keep up with that. As far as the storms, I know I've worked with a couple of the communities in Flanders where we're raising road ends, but it's a task that's just not going to keep our head above water, so to speak. It's going to be tough. It really is. As far as mitigating the storms, I know Ryan Murphy does a great job. We have erosion issues in Hampton Bays with the dunes disappearing in bad storms. The erosion control districts that some of the towns have put in, the villages have put in, seem to be working with the replenishment of the beaches, but it's an uphill battle from here.
Okay, thank you. John?
Well, I think the answer to the question is, what are we going to do with regard to environmental protection moving forward? And we've always addressed it through land preservation, but what we're learning as our understanding of the science of climate change evolves is that we need to use a variety of other tools in order to address the environmental problems that we're going to have in the future. Yeah, I think that environmental protection has to be another significant part of the update to the comprehensive plan, so we can, set down and focus our goals in the next 20 to 50 years. We need to engage in such initiatives, and finalize sewage treatment and revitalization in Riverside and Hampton Bays. We need to support clean energy initiatives, because that is the wave of the future in addressing climate change. Solar arrays, wind, geothermal. We need to build BESS facilities, which I know are highly controversial, but we need to thoughtfully place them, not in residential communities, not in environmentally sensitive areas, not right next to the canal or next to our water. We need to work with the federal government and the state government about to address beach erosion, which is a big problem right now. And we also need to eventually start to discuss a very long-term distal goal of sewer expansion, because we know that, look at what Maria Moore did in West Hampton Beach, a Herculean effort by sewering West Hampton Beach and upgrading drainage systems. She was able to remove 23% of the nitrogen out of the bays. And we need to look at ways that we can, in the long term, expand the sewers and upgrade drainage systems throughout the town.
Thank you. Now, this is going to be the last question, and John, you will go first. What do you support, and what would you like to see changed or added to the board's comprehensive plan, which affects issues such as transportation, climate change, and zoning?
Well, I think I've addressed a couple of those things already. I think affordable housing has to be an enormous part of the plan, as does environmental protection. We really need to sit down and plot out as a community how we're going to move forward in order to house people who need housing and can't afford the market rate housing that's available today. Right now, the average person working in our town and in our hamlets is unable to afford $1.5 million house. And so we need to be very sensitive about that and empathetic, and we need to roll up our sleeves and figure out a way to make affordable housing happen. We have to be we've been, I believe, too passive and too reactive. We need to be proactive, creative. We need to be diligent. And we need to do the same thing with regard to environmental protection. The comprehensive plan should discuss how we're going to implement the climate action plan, which was the amendment to the comprehensive plan that the board just approved last year. I think that the update to the comprehensive plan should really discuss how we're going to implement that, what we're going to do in the long term, and also take into account sewering, as I said, a sewer expansion and upgrades of drainage systems throughout the town.
Thank you. Rick?
Yeah, the important issues obviously are the affordable housing, definitely our sewage treatment throughout the town. The villages, they have their own protections, but I think as far as the town goes, we need to take into account the hamlets as inclusive. So not just say Remsenburg and Spionk, include West Hampton in a corridor plan. So we know that one building units are not affecting the same school or the same units, and look at it collectively instead of how we've done in the past. I think it's important too that we make sure that the town board can rule on some of these ideas that we have ahead of time, so that we're not bogging down our building department with plans that we probably wouldn't be going through. So I think it's important that we have one goal as far as affordable housing, one goal for all the other issues that we have going on. It's important to take a comprehensive look. Thank you.
Thank you. We're now up to the point where the candidates will give their closing statements. And Rick, you go first.
Thank you. So again, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for having us tonight. I appreciate the opportunity to run for the town board again. I've had that as a goal of mine since I was a young kid, and it's something that I take very seriously. My community is important to me. The people around me are important to me. How we progress into the future without, and remembering our past and our history and keeping this fine town the way it is something that's really dear to my heart. I did work hard when I was on the town board. Remember, 2 years of that was our pandemic, and my first concern was to make sure that we took very good care of our employees and our residents, and that we got through the pandemic without totally destroying a budget and making sure that everybody got out of it okay, especially those in need of food and the housing. So I appreciate everybody tonight. I really want to say that I look forward to March 18th. Please get out and vote, whichever way you decide to vote. Please get out and vote. It's important that we always vote on every election. So thank you.
Thank you. John?
Okay, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters again for hosting this debate. We've discussed tonight a wide variety of very pressing issues facing the residents of the town of Southampton: affordable housing, traffic mitigation, continued environmental protection, to name a few. Like I said before, we need people who are serious, knowledgeable, hardworking, and have the right skill set for this position. And I hope that I've demonstrated to you tonight that I am that person. I'm well versed on the issues. I've donated my time to community service that's prepared me for the job, and I have the will, the drive, and the stamina required to effectively serve in this office. I also have been a litigator, and my litigation experience will permit me to help the town move through the many contentious situations that it finds itself in right now, to name a few, the litigation with the Shinnecock Nation and with Liberty Gardens. So in all, I would be honored to work hard for you every day. And all I ask in return is that you give me your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to thank both candidates for their informative and thought-provoking responses, and to thank all those viewing the debates for joining us. Most importantly, don't forget to vote. You may vote at your usual voting site on Election Day, March 18th, or at any early voting site from March 8th through March 16th. The early voting sites will be the Parish Center of St. Mark's Episcopal Church in West Hampton and the Student Activity Center at Stony Brook, Southampton. The hours when they will be open for voting may be found at the Suffolk County